capture this. And then as soon as I get the red circle here, which should be any second, we'll go live. All right, we are live. We are live. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, everyone that's joining me here on Zoom. You found Unity Prosperity Ocean International, a Unity ministry. I am Reverend Dr. Stephen J. Kosmina, and we want to welcome in all those looking in through our multimedia channels, especially Unity Church in Pontiac, our friends down at Unity Church of Downriver in Michigan, and whoever else is using this or looking in anywhere in the world on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for being here. We love sharing the messages every Sunday. Reverend Tanae K. Kazmina is in the house. Reverend Glory Cato's with us today. So we got the whole gang is all here. So we're going to take a dive in because we're on the road sharing the message. And we want to get started so we can get out what needs to get out today. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I'm going to come on and share today's daily word with all of you. And our word for today is gratitude. Gratitude. And that plays a big part in what we're talking about over the next few weeks, right? We're talking about a simple 5-step process so that you may thrive in 2025. And gratitude indeed is a big part of anything that we want to manifest, any prayer that we want to come to pass in our field of experience, demonstration, realization. So the word is gratitude for today, and our affirmation is practicing gratitude leads me to the best life has to offer. Practicing gratitude leads me to the best life has to offer. Allow these words to be the meditation of your heart. Finding the good in situations, even undesirable ones, and feeling grateful is a spiritual superpower. When I practice gratitude, I am living my faith that blessings of all kinds are constantly unfolding and the goodness of God is in all things. Gratitude keeps me positive, helping me to expect the best, not the worst. It opens my heart to the existing blessings and primes me to receive even more. When I live with an attitude of gratitude, I am simply magnetic. I go forth with the expectation I will have what I need when I need it. I will meet the people I need to meet and be in the right place at the right time. In prayer, I give grateful thanks and rest assured my highest and best outcomes are on their way to me. And from Psalm 136, verse 1, oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. I love that piece. I want to print that one out. There's a lot of pieces on gratitude from Daily Word, and that's a great one. Perfectly in alignment with what we're talking about, because I often tell you all, hey, we don't have to know how, right? How is none of our business. How is a God job? And and that's one element of the how you find in this daily word today. It's being in that place of gratitude. And we're going to probably hear that several times. Gratitude in advance is one of the most powerful things you can do to make manifest the dreams and the desires of your heart. So we're moving through this process, everyone. We're moving through this process. It's going to take a couple of weeks to get through so we can get all the elements in because I want to give you the spiritual foundation, the scripture support for it. So it's not just, hey, some of Rev Stevens' kind of crazy ideas, all right? Because how we bring things to pass in our field of experience in life is really done in a certain way. And so many times we live life by default. We live life unconsciously. And things show up, we move through situations and circumstances and events and things that happen and life happens and we don't realize that whether we're aware of it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not, we are participating. And we participate unconsciously by the vibration, by the frequency that we move into. That's why in unity, we practice affirmative prayer and affirmative thought. We're not spending time embellishing, using our power of imagination, all the things that we don't want to experience, right? We don't want to spend all day thinking about what we don't want to happen. That's what worry is. Worry is really a prayer for what you don't want to happen to come to pass because we're feeding that. And that's what invited you to do last week. I invited you for a piece of homework to really look at the book of Job, to really read all of Job, at least chapter 22, because it demonstrates this so wonderfully for us. What is it, the negative pole thinking or the positive pole thinking? What is Job feeding? Our first step in this manifestation procedure or realization procedure is to decide what it is you really want. I also invited you to make a list of everything, the desires of your heart, without giving any thought to the how or your present moment ability or what you believe you're capable of. I said, abandon that and just make a list and then go back to it a few times and look at it and energetically feel which one of those items that you listed is really jumping off the page for you. So if you didn't listen to it, we want to get through all of these by the end of this month. So I'm not going to recap everything we talked about last week. You can go to the Facebook page or you can go to the YouTube channel and you can catch that and take that in. We will recap on the last Sunday of the month where I want to do number 5. And so we'll do that then. So we're moving through those. We're going to do 2 and 3 next week. And then, I mean, 3 and 4 next week, and then we'll do 5 the last Sunday of the month, and the first Sunday in February, Reverend Tanay will be up here. And I think Angela, you all remember the ones that are here with us in Zoom. Angela from our previous ministry just joined us in the house. We're glad to have you here, Angela. We'll visit
Thank you.
after. You're welcome. We'll visit here after. We're live. We're streaming live to multiple channels right now. So that's why you see everyone muted. We are live now in the beginning of the talk here today. So number 2, so encourage you go and listen to number 1 again. Repetition is so important because what we're doing here at the beginning of the year to really live our best life, to really thrive in 2025. We're we're reconditioning and reprogramming the way we go about life and living and our thought process to move out of some of the habits of thought, word, and action that have kept us, maybe where we don't want to be for too long of a period. We want to move into that newness. So number 2, I did share with you, and I said I would go deeper because I wanted to share some support from scripture this week. Number 2 was when you identify from your list what it is you really want to experience this year, and that's it. And I invited you to look at different areas of your life and really notice what energetically is moving and calling to you. What is it? And when you do that, you want to write this out in the present tense. That's step number 2. You want to really commit your desire to paper, writing it out in an affirmative, positive way, handwritten out, in a gratitude statement. And you may consider something like we have used before. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am, right? Because we're giving direction, we're giving new conditioning to our subconscious mind. We're delivering it. And the subconscious mind has no point of reference for what you're saying being true or not true, past or present, only deals with right here and right now, deals with feeling and emotion. Okay. And then that's another reason you don't have to know how, because if you're delivering this new program, hey, I used to say, I am so, and I'm not going to say it, right? Our words are powerful. But now we're saying we're moving energetically into what we have identified as what we want for our experience. So I'm so happy and grateful now that I am the walking epitome of love and all that love is. Let's just use love for a moment as an intangible goal, or one, maybe it's one of our, I encourage you to select a spiritual goal as well. We don't do that. Maybe it's one of our 12 powers. So love is a great example to use here. I am so happy and grateful. I exude what love is as I know it. And then you can just build that energy and you can step into that every energy every day. So you want to write it down. You want to carry it with you. You want to look at it several times during the day. Write it down several times during the day, whatever that may be. It'll help you center your thoughts on the thing you want. And you write that on a card again and place it in different places in your house, maybe on your mirror so you see it when you get up in the morning, and read it again before you fall off to sleep at night. And the key is moving into it energetically and feeling it. That's actually going to be step three. So we don't want to go too far today. We want to do 3 and 4 next week. But what I wanted to do when we look at scripture that supports this is I really wanted to talk about what we're doing here. And I want you to listen to this story of Lazarus. Put on your metaphysical listening ears, as this is coming from John. If you want to do a little homework, John chapter 11, verse 1 through 44. And if you would listen maybe in a different way, not just to the words on the surface. I'm going to read it real quick and then we'll go back and look at a couple things and extract from here. I'll share with you some metaphysics of all this so you can see how this really ties in with this second step that I'm sharing with you. Here we go here. I'm moving along quickly here because we have to move along too this morning. So on chapter 7, it says, then after this, he said to his disciples, let us go to Judea again. The disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and you are going there again? Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Those who walk during the day do not stumble because they see the light of this world. But those who walk at night stumble because the light is not on them. After saying this, he told them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to awaken him. The disciples said to him, Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he'll be all right. Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, but they thought that he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. For your sake, I am glad I was not there so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Thomas, who was called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, let us also go that we may die with him. So he's getting this. Remember, I said earlier, unconscious. We're doing this anyway. Old programming, old habits, worry, doubt, and fear. Let me continue. When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now, Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. There's so much metaphysics in here. But even now, I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Remember that. We're coming back to this. I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. You believe this? He asked her. She said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. When he said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, the teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now, Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the home, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, see how he loved him. But some of them said, would not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, take away the stone. Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead for 4 days. Jesus said to her, did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? And Jesus looked upward and said, Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me. I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me. When he has said this, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. So full, I invite you to go back and read this, but at the same time, go to truthunity.net/MBD. You just go to Truth Unity, you can find the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. It's a big, thick book I would use a lot from the pulpit. And these names that are in there, they're all hyperlinked. I mean, you can go to that Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, click on the names. Each one of these names shared in here, Mary and Martha and Lazarus and Thomas the apostle, all have a metaphysical meaning or definition for some point on our path of spiritual unfoldment where we are in consciousness. That would really, really take you deeper into this, but really, really quick. Right off the bat, Jesus is talking to his disciples and say, "Hey, there's balance, there's order, there's 12 hours of daylight, there's 12 hours of darkness. We don't stumble when we live and move into the consciousness of light. What light? The light that this newness living from the Christ that we celebrated being born anew into on Christmas. When we live from this light, we're not stumbling around in the old consciousness, the old ways, the old habits, the old thoughts that have brought us the results that we're experiencing right now. We're going, wait a minute, we don't go to prayer last, we go to prayer first. We see this on the news with so much that is happening, and we bless and see wholeness, and we see good outcome and right outcome and comfort and relief for all those suffering with this great loss of these fires out here in California. And we know that worry and doubt and fear is not the way out. It's seeing the goodness of God that can be manifested in all of our experiences. So he says, so those that walk in this light, they won't stumble because the light is in them and they are living from that. So he says, Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to awaken him. What needs to be awakened? What do we do really intensely at Easter and at Christmas time? We awaken that part of us, that higher self, that Christ in us, that we allow fall asleep because we carry on. We move into our week, we move into our month. Maybe we stop or we move away from prayer and meditation that have been supportive of us. And if we get away from that, we do start to stumble. That part of us tends to get pushed back a little bit as if we have allowed it to fall asleep. So we continue on. He says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Well, where she is in consciousness, we have to realize in this part of the scripture, we have to take personal responsibility. The Christ within us is always there. It is our essence. See how this ties in with our second unity principle. Our essence is of God. We are inherently good. This God essence, also called the Christ, was fully expressed in Jesus and his life and his teachings. It didn't go anywhere. We wouldn't fall asleep if we remained and took responsibility and chose every day to get up and say, I choose this day to be dedicated to living from my light. Christ of God, I am. And it just continues. Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? If you just believed in this Christ essence, this God essence we all are, God is the giver. The gift has already been given. We will see that glory expressed in our lives. Key point ties in with our daily word today. So many times you're going to hear this from me through the rest of this little mini series we're doing. We give thanks in advance again. Gratitude in our daily word and what you're going to hear from me over and over and over again. He broke bread and gave thanks. He blessed and gave thanks to the loaves of the fishes that fed the 5,000. He says, Father, I thank you for having heard me. He's not going there with doubt. He's going there with positive expectation. He's going there with focus. He's not going there unconscious. Well, all I can do now is pray. I tried everything else. I went and shook the dude. It didn't wake him up. I guess all I can do now and pray. Maybe it'll work. I hope it will. I don't know. Well, God, can you wake this dude up? Everybody said, no, I know you hear me with conviction. I am going here. You always hear me. I'm saying this right now. I know you always hear me, but I say it for the sake of the crowd. And that crowd metaphysically is all these thoughts that when we're going into that monkey chatter, that we want to bring into alignment and say, hey, get behind me. Get behind me, Satan. The Satan is the thoughts that are out of alignment with our spiritual center, with the Christ of God we are. Get behind me. All right. So I am doing it for the sake of the crowd standing here so that they may believe that you sent me to demonstrate this. It is a done deal where he's coming from. See, we're hearing from Jesus here, these words of Jesus in John, where so often we hear from Jesus. There's a little bit in here where he says that he was greatly disturbed. But most of the time, if you have a red letter Bible or you're hearing the words of Jesus in John, he's speaking from that Christ. Remember, some of the other gospels, we see it kind of both ways. Jesus, the man that was born in Bethlehem, that became aware of his own divinity and started his ministry at the age of 30, right? In John, we're hearing more of him speak right from the Christ of God. He realizes that he is. And and it goes on. The big thing is that I really wanted to point out is that Thanksgiving and Lazarus really representing that part of us that does go to sleep and waking him up, rolling away that stone. I mean, sometimes we can be so set in our ways, so stubborn. No, I tried this, that didn't work. I tried that, didn't work. That's the stone. That's the stone that needs to be cast aside that's keeping us in the darkness. What is that? Remember, I invited you to think about, hey, what are these beliefs that I've been holding, maybe about me or about things, the world in general? To ask yourself over and over again, revisit them. What do I believe in? And are these actually true? What's the foundation for why I believe in what I believe in? Because some of those untruths, some of those things that are not true, excuse me, when we say, well, I'd really love to do that, but I can't do that. I don't know how. I don't have the ability. I'm not smart enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. That's the stone that we want to roll away. And we want to wake up. We want to hear the words that Jesus says, rise up with a very loud voice. We have to sometimes tell that monkey chatter, tell those thoughts that we're thinking every day over and over again, and even wrapping with feeling and wrapping them with worry, doubt, and fear and emotion and all that. Hey, get out of here. Scoot, scoot. Christ in me, rise up. It is my desire and intention to live from the light of God I am. It didn't go anywhere. I'm rolling away all those stones. I'm coming out of this tomb of day to day worry, doubt, and fear, lack, and limitation, and I'm stepping into the goodness of God I am, and I know that all things are possible. I choose from this day forward to seek the power and presence of God in me, to seek that kingdom first and right use of righteousness and God's righteousness, right use of all my God given gifts. So, all these things, all the desires of my heart, everything on my list may be added to me. That's my paraphrasing of Matthew 6, verse 33. Seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things may be added to you. Be transformed. This is how you be transformed, by the renewing of your mind, from Romans 12:2. This is what we're talking about. I really encourage you. Let me just do a real quick summary metaphysically of what I just shared for you. The man or woman who wants the inner life to spring forth must believe in the reality of spiritual powers and must exercise his or her faith by invoking in prayer the presence of the invisible but omnipresent God. This reveals to consciousness the glory of spirit, and the soul has witness in itself of a power that it knew not. Sometimes that's why we enter the tomb from our limited human perspective, because we knew not the power that we all have. In spirit, all things are fulfilled now. The moment a concept enters the mind, that which is conceived is consummated through the law that governs the action of ideas. The inventor mentally sees his machine doing the work designed, though he may be years short of making it do that work. Remember, I always tell you, everything was created twice. The spiritual minded take advantage of this law and affirm the completeness of the ideal, regardless of outer appearances. This stimulates the energy in the thought process and gives it power beyond estimate. This is the step that Jesus took when he lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou heardest me. And I knew that thou hearest me always. The sleeping life, Lazarus, that's not awake, but the prayer of thanksgiving that is now in action gives the assurance that calls it at the next step to the surface, Lazarus, come forth. Jesus cried with a loud voice. This emphasizes the necessity of working strenuously in vibrating the inner life to the surface. That's what I'm saying. Get behind me, the inner life to the surface. Neophytes find it easy, under proper instruction, to quicken the various life centers in the body and connect them as a vibrating body battery that, under the direction of the will, throws a current of energy to any desired place. The time comes when the outer flesh must be vitalized with its inner life. Then arises the necessity of that. Every function. This is removing the napkin from the face. Remember, removing the cloth from the face, which represents conscious intelligence. And there you have it. That's what I wanted to really share with you from Lazarus. And I just wanted to remind you, too, about prayer. And that is from this piece that I always share with you from my Science of Mind book. Therefore, I say unto you, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them and you shall have them. That's from Mark 11:24. And Ernest Holmes says there could be no more explicit technique for effective prayer than this, laid down by the master himself. We actually are to believe that we already possess the object of our desire when we ask for it. We are to accept it even as we believe in the harvest that follows the spring planting. Therefore, every spring should be one of hope, and every harvest one of fulfillment. We must learn to accept the good we desire, to affirm its presence in our experience. So I threw a lot in number 2 here. There's so much to unpack if you really want to find that support. We looked at Job, and it's like, man, If he's feeding his hardship and if he's dwelling on his hardships, he seems to get more and more. How can it get any worse for this dude? Right? But once he starts focusing on the goodness and the glory of God, everything starts to improve. And we shared that last week. And this here we have I just had to make sure that we're all muted here. Okay, I got it. So this here today is saying, hey, we tend to fall asleep. So no matter how many times you hear this message from me or anybody else, we probably need to hear it again and again and again, because in our humanness, we tend to drift to what is presenting itself to sense consciousness. We're seeing it, we're hearing it, we're feeling it, we're touching it, we're tasting it, and it's giving us input that might appear to be contrary to what we want to create in our life. But we can't feed that. We have to continually feed the assurance that the faith in us, the goodness of God working in alignment with our feelings and our vibration, our energy, is lifting us. And as we affirm in our prayer and in our writings, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am, right? Now that I am is referring to the Christ of God in us. We are giving it so much power, so much power. And that's what we hear today. That's what I wanted to draw out. And that's what we hear over and over again. We hear it from Martha and Mary. We hear it all over the place. We hear Jesus telling the disciples, no, 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 no. We have to awake to the I am present. That's what I am going to demonstrate. The I am present. I am present there. I am present anyway. He wouldn't have fallen asleep if he took responsibility and remained aware of the I am presence, the Christ of God as his center. So we're going to pick it up next week with number 3, visualize and feel it real. And we're going to make this PDF available to you all again. And then we'll go into 4, believe and have faith, and gratitude again for number 5. So we'll get this wrapped up by the end of the month. I'm going to practice today because Unity of San Diego said I only have enough time to do a 3-minute meditation. So we're going to practice this, something that may sound very familiar to you that I love doing and have done before. Let me see if I can just add a little bit of good, Ron. That's a great tool that you could use. And then you'll see in the right corner, MBD stands for Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. And you can go there and look at you can look at Mary and you can look at Martha and see what they represent and see if you relate to any of that. Great tool to use. There's no charge for it. It's all free. So I invite you to all to take a deep breath right now, right where you are. And if you're comfortable doing so and it's safe to do so, perhaps close your outer eyes. Breathing into this eternal moment of right here, right now. Acknowledging the holy presence of God at our very center, our essence, what we are made of, the truth of our being. And we're going to pull out from the book of Psalms, I believe it's 46:10, but don't quote me on that. A very simple way to move into center. And the verse says, be still and know that I am God. And we're going to move around the comma a little bit here so that this comes alive, this verse comes alive for us and helps us to move to that center, the essence of God that lives us, moves us, and breathes us. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Deep breath. Be still and know. Be still. Simply be still. Be. And so it is. Take another deep breath and become aware again of your surroundings and give thanks for this brief meditation that hopefully moved you and me and each one of us to that center of the presence of God we can all find within us. This is Reverend Dr. Stephen J. Kuzmina inviting you to stay put on Zoom. Those of you with me here, those of you out there, go to our Unity Prosperity page on Facebook. You can find how to connect to our newsletter, which goes out every Friday and gives you the instructions where you can come behind this curtain, so to speak, and join us on Zoom. And for those of you looking in at other ministries, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We love you. We behold the Christ in you, and we'll be here and continue this mini series next week, 9 a.m. Central Time and Eastern Time. This is Reverend Dr. Stephen J. Kuzmina and Reverend Tanae wishing you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you. Well, let me